Welcome to the session. This is Manjula, Assistant Professor in Commerce, Dr. VRR Government College, Jadcherla, Mahabubnagar. Today topic is centralization. The name itself indicates that centralization is concentration of power in few hands. In the management, if power is concentrated only in the few hands, then it is called as centralization. It is like autocracy, where people has to listen to the words of that person, where the authority is centralized. Now if we see the definition, centralization refers to the tendency to withhold a large part of the formal authority at higher echelons of management hierarchy. Now the definition says that in centralization, the power lies in the hands of the higher levels of managers. The total power is in the hands of higher level of managers, and these persons will be at the top of the organization. And if the total power is in the hands of the higher echelons of management, all the decision making power is done by the top management only, or all the decision making is done by the persons who are having the authority in the organization. So the decision making power and the importance of those persons will be more in the organization, and these people are at the higher positions in the organization. The people who are having authority will naturally be at the higher positions of the organization. So centralization is nothing but the total power is in the hands of few persons, and these few persons are generally at the top level of the organization or at the higher echelons of the organization, and maximum decisions are taken by them because they are having the authority. They take the maximum decisions, and they occupy highest positions in the organization. Because of their authority, they occupy highest positions in the organization. Next, on the other hand, larger part of the authority is delegated down the levels of management. Sometimes authority is delegated to lower the echelons of management. The higher people will delegate authority to the persons at the lower levels in the organization. This is another part. In the organization, two parts where authority is centralized and where authority is delegated to the subordinates. And if authority is delegated, they will be having the power to take decisions. Next, place of decision making authority in the management hierarchy and degree of decision making power at lower echelons of the organization is another aspect, where the people at the lower level are having the authority to take the decisions, to take the authority, and these people are having importance in the organization. Now this type of work is called as decentralization. Centralization is concentration of power, decentralization is division of power. People are given power to take decisions, so that is decentralization. Now which part of the organization is useful, actually centralization or decentralization? That depends upon the thinking of the management, whether to adopt centralization or to adopt decentralization. Next, what are the factors influencing centralization? Why an organization wants to go for centralization? Why it does not want to delegate authority to the subordinates? Why it wants to concentrate only on its own hands? Why it wants all the powers in its hands only? What are the factors influencing the company to force for centralization? Factors are individual leadership. Now, if the management feels that the leadership should be in the top hands only, that decision making should be in the hands of top management only, and it should not be delegated to the subordinates, in that situation, the management will not go for decentralization. Since it wants the authority for itself only and decision making power for itself only, and the people at the top management want to be leaders by themselves, in such situation the organization will prefer centralization. that is individual leadership. Next, unity and uniformity. Now, if the organization feels that unity can be achieved only when there is centralization, if authority is delegated, then there will not be unity. Now, people adopting centralization in the organization feel that if authority is delegated, then there will not be unity, there will be misunderstandings among the people. So, if centralization is opted, they think that unity can be easily achieved and uniformity is possible if centralization is adopted, because only one person will be dictating the norms, rules, and conditions. Now, this person, since gives instructions, there will be uniformity in instructions. So, people preferring centralization always think that there will be unity and uniformity if centralization is adopted in the organization. Next, emergencies. In case of emergencies, centralization is more suitable because only one person will be commanding the subordinates. Since authority is not delegated, people cannot command all the subordinates. Since one person is having the authority, he commands all the subordinates in emergency situations. Next, gradual development. People feel that centralization leads to gradual development. Why? Because people having power in the organization, they give importance to the subordinates' development, because they think that if subordinates are properly guided, then it leads to achievement of the organization. Next, nature of authority. Now, if people want authority for themselves, they want to be autocrat than democratic, then they prefer centralization than decentralization. So, authority, the nature of authority determines whether it should be centralized or decentralized. Now, if the manager wants an autocratic authority, then he will not delegate the power to the subordinates. Now, if the manager is a democratic authoritative person, then he feels that authority should be delegated. So, nature of authority determines whether to go for centralization or for decentralization. So, these are the factors influencing centralization only: individual leadership, unity and uniformity, emergencies, gradual development, and nature of authorities. Next, what is actually a centralized structure? Now, a centralized structure keeps decision making firmly at the top management. I already said the decision making will always be at the top management in centralization concept. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of centralization? Advantages are: it is easier to implement common policies and practices for the whole business. The first advantage is centralization leads to implementation of common policies for the whole organization, because one person is having the total authority and he himself implements all the policies in the organization. So, similar and common policies will be introduced in the organization. That is the first advantage. Second advantage is prevents other parts of the business from becoming too independent. Now, in centralization, the independent aspect is not there. People has to depend on top management. So it says that independent aspect is not encouraged in centralization. Next advantage is, since centralization is decision making at the center, that is at the top level, it is easy to coordinate and control, because only one center has to implement all the decisions. So the single person at the top level is responsible for controlling and coordinating the activities. Next, since the decision making is at the top level, he need not consult anybody for taking decisions. So there is a chance of taking quick decisions in centralization. Because all the power is in the hands of one person, he need not consult anybody. He takes all the decisions. So there is a possibility of quick decisions in centralization. So first advantage is common policies and practices are followed in the organization, and it discourages too much independency in the organization. It coordinates and controls all the activities because only single person is responsible. And since the decision making is at the top level, he need not consult anybody. There is a chance of taking quick decisions in the organization. And this structure has certain disadvantages also. What are disadvantages? It is more bureaucratic because manager need not consult anybody. The total power is with himself. He is not delegating his power to the others. So it is a bureaucratic type of management. Next, junior managers are likely to much closer to customer needs. Now it says that since top management consists of all the persons with senior capacity or the persons with more managerial service, but actually present young managers are having chance to consult with the customers in the outside market. But junior managers are not having right to take decisions. But actual market situation is known to the junior managers. Senior managers or persons at the top level does not know the actual situation in the market. But junior managers know the customers' needs because they are having rapport with the customers. But what is the use? These junior managers are not having chance to take decisions. So this is the main disadvantage in centralization. Now, lack of authority down the hierarchy. Now, since in the hierarchy, the lower level managers are not having any authority. Now, it leads deterioration of interest among the subordinates. Down the level, managers will not get initiation or motivation to do the work because of lack of authority. Next, customer services does misses flexibility and spread of local decisions. Now there is a possibility of missing customer services in centralization because they are not concentrated on customers, they are concentrated on their own authority. So these are the disadvantages if organization goes for centralized management. Bureaucracy, lack of motivation, lack of authority, and customers' interest is not viewed in centralization concept. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of centralization. Next concept is decentralization. Now what is decentralization? The opposite of centralization is decentralization. Now decentralization is basically concerned with attitude and philosophy of organization and management. Now this concept totally revolves around the attitude of the management or the philosophy of the management. What is actually the attitude of management or philosophy of management? So delegation is a process and decentralization is the situation. Delegation is nothing but giving authority to some other person. That is delegation. Giving work and responsibility to the subordinates. Power to the subordinates. That is delegation. Decentralization is the process produced by larger delegation of authority. Now, if authority is totally delegated in the organization to the subordinates, then it leads to the decentralized organization. If authority is kept with the top management and only some part is given to the subordinates, then there is delegation but there is no decentralization. If total authority is delegated to the subordinates, then there is a concept of decentralization in the organization. Now, a company cannot go without delegation because delegation is essential, and an organization cannot exist without delegation. But decentralization is not compulsory. There can be delegation without decentralization also. Now, the company can delegate some powers to the subordinates, not the total powers. So, there is delegation. If total powers are not delegated, then there is no decentralization. So, two aspects are separate: delegation and decentralization. If some part of authority is delegated, then there is no decentralization. If total authority is delegated to the subordinates, then there is decentralization in the organization. And one more aspect is there can be delegation, but there can be delegation, but decentralization may exist or may not exist in the organization. Next, what are the advantages and disadvantages of decentralization? Why the organization should go for decentralization? Now, decentralization first advantage is it relieves top management from workload. Now, if the management is not delegating work to the subordinates or authority to the subordinates, the total workload will be in the hands of the top management. Now, the top management cannot look after the total work. So, it is relieved from looking after the total work. So, in decentralization, workload is divided under down the level of management hierarchy. So, that is the reason top management is relieved from workload. Now, if there is decentralization, it motivates the employees in the subordinates, it gives them job satisfaction, and they want to do more work for the organization. So, this motivates the lower level of employees in the organization, and they feel more attractive to do the work, they show more interest in doing the work, and they feel motivated to work for the organization because there is a decentralization. Now, here employees take an initiation in doing the work. Sometimes they use their creative skills and knowledge to provide suggestions to the management because a due consideration is given for employees' opinion in decentralization. So, employees feel responsible, they initiate, and they think for the purpose of organization. Next, a realistic decision. Now, since the top management has delegated the authority to the subordinates, there is a concept of decentralization in the organization, and people are free to express their opinion regarding the organization. So, there is a concept of realistic decision because whatever the decision that is taken by the management, it is realistic because it is considering the views of the subordinates. Once all these views are considered, then the decision taken is according to the real situation. So, realistic decision is arrived in decentralization. So, these are the advantages of decentralization. Top management is relieved, it gives employees motivation, it encourages, initiates the subordinates, and realistic decisions are possible in decentralization. Now, what are the disadvantages of decentralization? Hampers uniformity in decision making. Now, since all the people are involved in decision making, all the people take the decision according to their authority or according to the authority delegated to them. Sometimes there is a possibility of taking wrong decisions, or there may not be uniformity in decision making because everybody takes decisions on the basis of authority given to them. Next, increases administrative cost because it has to appoint executives at the lower level also. Since management has to appoint executives at the lower level, authority is delegated to them, and these executives appointed are having an efficient knowledge in their field. They demand higher salaries. So it increases administrative cost for the organization. Next, it is difficult for the top management to exercise control. Now, top management cannot control decentralization because everybody is having their own authority. They feel proud of their position in the organization, and once this nature is adopted by the employees, it is very difficult for the top management to control these executives. So these are the advantages of decentralization. There may not be uniformity in decision making, increases administrative costs because efficient executives are to be employed at each level, and it is difficult for the top management to control the subordinates or the lower level executives. Next, what are the factors influencing decentralization? Why a management has to go for decentralized structure? What are the factors influencing the concept of decentralization? First one is size of business unit. Now, if the size of business unit is large, centralization is not possible because only top management cannot concentrate on all the things in the organization. So, if business unit is large, it has to be decentralized. Powers to be allocated at each section, authority is to be allocated, delegated, and they should be made responsible for their particular task. If size of the business is small, centralization. If size of the business is large, then decentralization is suitable in the organization. Next, history of the concern. Now, if the organization is having a vast history, then it goes for decentralization because of the reputation in the market. It is able to establish branches, it is able to expand its business. Now, once the business is expanded, it has to decentralize its activities. Next, if the company is a new company, it is not having any background or history, then it can go for centralization because there are no branches set up. And since it is a new established concern, there is little scope for expanding. In such a situation, it can go for centralization. If the company has a huge history, it can go for decentralization. Next, the manager's attitude. Now, if the top management feels that the authority should not be delegated and it should be with the top management only, then it goes for centralization. If the manager's attitude is liberal and it thinks the views of the subordinates, it gives due importance to the subordinates, then it go for decentralization. So attitude of the managers also tell whether it is a centralization or decentralization. Next, availability of managers. If managers are available in abundant for the organization, then it will go for decentralization. If efficient managers are not available, the company cannot cope up with the less skilled workers or inefficient persons, then it will go for centralization. Next, merger. Now, if the present company is merged with the other company, if a company is in losses, the other company will take over that company. Both are combined to form a single company. That is merger. If this company is merged with the other company, then the activities of the company will become larger because two companies are combined into one company. If the activities become larger, then it go for decentralization. Otherwise, if the activities are little, it goes for centralization. Next, costliness of decision. Now, sometimes the company goes for decentralization because top management decision is a costlier affair, and once a wrong decision has been taken by the top management, then it will affect the total organization. Now, if the management feels that decision making is important and it leads to the efficient working of the organization, then it goes for decentralization. Next, location of unit is also important for decentralization. Now, if unit is established besides one unit and other unit, then decentralization is useful. If units are at different places, far off places, then centralization is useful. So these are the factors influencing decentralization. If size is large, it goes for decentralization. If the company history is more or huge history, vast history is there, then it goes for decentralization. If manager's attitude is positive, then it goes for decentralization. Availability of managers is more, merger, costliness of decision. If large units are employed, then it goes for decentralization. So these are the various factors influencing decentralization. Now, what is actually re-centralization? The new concept is re-centralization. Centralization is totally concentrated. Decentralization is totally distributed. Authority is totally delegated. Now, re-centralization is back to centralization. Actually, company has been decentralized. It has given authority to the subordinates and more powers to the lower levels of management, lower echelons of management. It is working properly. But because of certain hurdles or because of certain misconceptions, the company has repatriated to the centralization again. Actually, it is decentralized, but because of certain problems, it is going back to the centralization. It don't want to give authority to the subordinates. In that case, it is called as re-centralization. Re-centralization means back to centralization. Why this re-centralization concept has come? If the situation demands, then the company will go for decentralization to re-centralization. Or if the top management may hold back the power, if the top management, whatever the power or authority that is delegated, it is taking back that power and authority, then it goes for re-centralization, taking back of power or authority from the lower levels of managers which were earlier decentralized. Decentralized powers are taken by the top management so that again it wants to rebuild the organization, restructure the organization. In such cases, the company will go from decentralization to re-centralization. Now, these are the important aspects of the organization structure, whether it should go for decentralization, centralization, or re-centralization. Now, there is one article, it says that re-centralization of authority and balance as the key to decentralization. Now, it says that re-centralization of authority, whatever the authority that is given, it is again taken back, and balance, it acts as the key or success to the decentralization. So the process is a centralization of authority over a certain type of activity or functions whenever the organization it may be found. Now, organization if thinks that certain process in certain process centralization is necessary, and in certain processes centralization is not necessary. Now in such situations where the centralization concept is necessary, it go for centralization, and in certain processes where decentralization is useful, it goes for decentralization. So depending upon the situations in the organization, or depending upon the requirements in the organization can go for centralization, decentralization, or re-centralization. Take for example, in the class also, sometimes a teacher holds the total power and she commands the class, because at that situation teacher wants to control the class, so she holds the total power. Now sometimes teacher while in the class instructs some of the students to monitor the class. It is decentralization. For whom the power of monitoring is given, they feel proud of it, and there the situation is demanding decentralization. So depending upon the situations, the organization can adopt any form of the structure. So formal organization and informal organization, centralization, decentralization, and re-centralization. Now next is the span of management or span of supervision. What is span of management or span of supervision? Span is nothing but the capacity or the limit of supervision. Now this depends upon the individual capacities of the manager. A manager, if he is able to control more number of subordinates, then his span of supervision is more. If the manager is able to control a less number of subordinates, then his span of supervision is less. That depends upon the individual capacities of the manager. If he is able to control 50%, then his capacity is more, or span of supervision is more. If he is able to control only 10% or command only 10%, then his span of supervision is less. So depending upon the capacity of the manager, the top management has to assign the number of subordinates to him. If his span of supervision is less and more people are assigned, then there may not be an efficiency in work. So the success of the top management or the higher level of echelons depends on the span of supervision, how a manager is assigned the subordinates. So this is the important concept for the success of the organization.